Azat.
Oke, lepas ni pergi mana?
Tapi dia lari. Kita tu lari kan?
Dia lompat dekat sini. Dia lompat dekat sini.
Oh, dari sini.
Bukan, satu larian dia, 2 step.
Nampak?
Itu dia apa tu?
Dia sekali lompat.
Sekali dia lari macam ni. Ha.
Oh, 8 meter lah.
Boleh,
betul
betul.
lah. Weh, dia tulis dah betul lah. 8 meter long. A cheetah full stride. Dia punya full.
Oh, full.
Full. 8 lah. Situ
Dia
lah.
terbang jauh.
Oh,
Dari sini?
Gila.
Full stride. Bapak. Dia cakap as long as 8 meter. Ni, 1 meter, 2 meter, 8 meter.
Dia lompat dari sini. Dia mendarat kat sini.
Tak, ni full strength dia. Ni full strength dia. Tapi ni style dia. Dia boleh lompat kosong.
tengok ini semua itu tak tahu.
Dia boleh lompat 3
Dia
step.
bising pasal apa pun tak tahu.
Dia boleh lompat 2 step.
Jadi kita mau jalan sendiri aja lah. Tengok.
Tak boleh, tak boleh. Akak. Saya rasa dia kena lari tau, Kak. Oh, lari ya?
Tengok. Ini sudah macam kita udah.
Nombor 2. Dua lompat. Okay, Azat.
Mac-
Oh, dia kena lompat.
Oh.
Okey lah tu.
Jom, pas ni kenapa?
Ada cobaan ya. Percubaan yang baik. Kamu kasih masuk blok tu.
Iyalah, biarin lah. Jalan lagi.
Ada. Berapa tu juga macam oh. Ada kan dia apa melekat show.
Weh, ni kucing hutan tu.
What's that? Betul ke? Oh, kucing lah. Kucing ambil.
Oh iya, itu tuh. Kena kucing ya teman ya. Situ tuh.
Bukan, betul lah.
Batu
dah. Itu yang dia punya asli mana?
Ni Ipoh Beach.
Oke, kita
Pergi
next.
tengok ni.
Kita jalan.
Ipoh. Boleh.
Kita lewat mana?
Lihat Beach Cafe lah.
Mau tengok ni.
Nama dia Hippo.
Nama dia.
Ini toilet ya. Kau nak berak toilet nama dia.
Kita mau coba tengok ke dalam teman ya. Cik, macam mana kau sudah jumpa ini? Tindul, macam mana kau sudah jumpa saudara kau?
Sudah. Saudara-saudara semua sihat-sihat sebelah. Besar lah tu.
Tengok orang sana. Yang kita lihat. Ini sudah jumpa saudara si kecil ini. Sudah habis, Cik?
Tu belakang ni.
Apa tu?
Panas sama ya. Mana dia? Dia mandi mungkin di dalam kan ya, jadi tak nampak dalam air.
Dia tak boleh masuk sini.
Sebab?
Ada electric fan.
Sampai sini je lah. Hah? Kenapa?
Iya di dalam teman. Biasa teman. Dia kepanasan itu.
Panas. Sudah.
Hah? Mana?
Dalam air.
Mana?
Kalau dia dah masuk dah dalam air, jadi dia keluar balik.
Dia tu air ni tak ada apa-apa lah.
Nampak ini di dalam. Lah jadi kita lihat dulu teman ya, karena panas betul. Kalau panas Macam mana tadi udah jumpa saudara?
Saudara gorila.
Saudara kan. Ini tempat apa ini? Udah si listrik temen ya, jadi dia nggak bisa keluar ya. Jom. Jom kita lanjut. Mau kemana? Lanjut kita ini ya.
Tapi
Ini dia tempat. Oh ini ada itu, dia punya itu teman ya. Dia punya itu apa? Yang sudah mati. Lihat ini ya. Dia punya kepala teman ya. Bisa dilihat itu. Dia punya nama Ziva. Jadi kita keluar lagi teman.
Inside of the bus, we have, it's actually quite amusing to me to see camels next to the oryx like this, because we have species at polar ends of the conservation spectrum. The camels are considered least concerned because there are so many of them out in the wild. Australia is actually home to the largest wild camel population in the world. There's over 1 million of them. The little white antelope next to them are still listed as extinct in the world. So you couldn't get more extremes here. Now the camels were brought here from places like India and Pakistan in the 18th century to help transport supplies into the outback to build things like railway lines and cattle stations. But by the 1920s, the need for the camel was replaced with machinery and motorised transport. So what we do with all these animals, we set them loose. Now lucky for the camels, they're very well adapted to a hot desert outback environment. They have heat-proof pads underneath their feet. They have a long layer of bushy eyelashes to keep out any sand or grit during sandstorms. And they store fat in their humps. Now this fat can be converted into energy or water depending on what resource they need. So provided the camel has a really good fat store in their back, they can actually go for months without eating or drinking. So that's why they're doing so well, because they're so well adapted to their environment. The oryx, on the other hand, you will only see them in conservation zoos like ours. We do breed them. In fact, this is our breeding group. We're not the only ones that breed them. There are a handful of organisations around the world that also breed the oryx. And together we have started releasing these animals into Chad, a country in Africa. We haven't established a population strong enough or large enough to change their conservation status yet, so the oryx has a very, very long road ahead. But looking promising. There are a few young members of that herd. The ones that are lying down on the ground are all the young ones.
Sebab dia main kat ni dia, sebab dia main kat ni.
I love sharing the oryx. On the right-hand side are our Mongolian wild horses. Now it looks like they've heard something out the back because they're running and they've got their eyes forward, ears are pricked. They can hear some commotion. The keepers might be out the back with their lunch. Now these horses are considered critically endangered, but as recently as 50 years ago, they were too considered to be extinct in the wild. Now the reason the Mongolian wild horse is still with us today is because 50 years ago there were animals in zoos around the world that were already part of breeding programs. So if those breeding programs hadn't commenced as early as they did, these horses may not have been with us today. So critically endangered is still not out of the woods, but it's definitely a massive improvement on an animal that was considered to be extinct in the wild. So those are our Mongolian wild horses.